welcome to another edition of the In Search SEO podcast, where we paint the town red with search marketing insights. Today, we have a UX aficionado for you. Khalid Saleh, CEO of Invest, opens the world of UX's role in CRO to us with tips like how to speak to user psychology with your UX in order to boost sales, how to drill deep into the user mindset and build UX that aligns to it, and what messages do you want your UX to send and how do you send them. Plus, we talk about what's likely competing with your featured snippets for user attention. I am your host, Mordy Oberstein, and I am joined by the debonair, the decorous, Sapir Carabello.
Hello, Morty.
Hello, Sapir. How goes quarantine week number? Who the hell knows?
Same old.
Same old,
No,
same
actually,
old.
you know what? My sister gave birth last week.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
I'm officially an aunt.
Oh,
So,
congrats.
yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Are you gonna be the
thanks.
cool aunt? Are you the cool? You're not a cool aunt.
Oh, for sure. I'm gonna be like the super cool aunt.
Yeah, let me show all of my. Is it a boy or a girl? I didn't even ask.
It's a boy.
It's a boy. I mean, I always have to ask how big is it, because that's like totally pertinent. Like, was it a watermelon or a cantaloupe?
What?
How big was the baby?
Who asked those kind of questions?
Everybody asks. Always ask.
It
The first
was,
question people ask.
2 kilos and 700 grams.
2 kilos. Put that in pounds for me. A kilo is 2.2 pounds.
I have no
Right?
idea.
I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I don't know why people ask that question. I do the same thing. I'm like, totally guilty. I just did it. Oh, how big was the baby? Who cares? Like, what's the difference? Oh, it was 7 pounds. Oh, thank God it wasn't 8 pounds. Or it was 8 pounds. Oh, thank God it wasn't 7 pounds. Like, what's the difference?
I know, right?
I don't know. Is it a hairy baby or is it not a hairy baby?
No, he's the sweetest, most perfect baby.
Of course he is. Every baby is perfect until they crap their pants and you have to change them and they wake up in the middle of the night. Then they're not perfect.
That's the responsibility of the parents. I'm just like,
Right, you have to
chill
do
on
nothing.
it.
Oh, that's crazy. But they were in the hospital during Corona, giving a baby during a Corona
exactly.
baby.
That's why we couldn't visit them. So
Wow. Good.
yeah.
Wow, that's great. You don't have to go to the hospital. Awesome. One less thing to do, in my opinion, but whatever. So I'm looking at something like that. One less family obligation. Okay. Do not forget, we put out a new episode of the In Search SEO podcast each and every Tuesday. You can find it on the Rank Ranger blog. You can find it on Stitcher. You can find it on Spotify. You can find it on SoundCloud. And you may subscribe on iTunes. And check it out. You can head over to Twitter and you can find the podcast on Twitter. That's right. The podcast has a new Twitter handle. Part of our exciting announcements we talked about last week. Well, here it is, a brand new Twitter page for the podcast. The Twitter handle is InSearch_SEO. Head over there, check it out. Also, we're putting out a brand new newsletter for the podcast. You can stay up to date on what the podcast is doing, what's happening, who's coming on the podcast next, and be alerted whenever a new episode drops. Plus, we'll throw in some special extra tidbits around news that we think you should read, articles that we think you should read, and we'll paste in some of the top tweets we've seen over the course of the week. So sign up for the newsletter. Get some cool stuff. The link to the newsletter can be found on the Twitter page. It can also be found in the blog post that harbors this podcast. And if you head over to the Rank Ranger blog, click on podcasts. Under resources, you'll see another place where you can sign up for the newsletter. So definitely check that out. So exciting new stuff for the podcast.
Yeah.
Yes, there's more. But wait, there's more. There's more. On the Twitter page, if you follow the podcast on Twitter, you will get exciting, new, exclusive content that will appear nowhere else other than Twitter. So we're going to go, for example, our Deep Thought series, which will feature me going deeper into some of the things we spoke about on the podcast, whether it be the interview or the news. You get exclusive thoughts from me that are deep and highly cynical. So head over to Twitter, go to InSearch_SEO, follow the podcast, And in the future, we're going to have some bonus material coming from our guests. Can't do that just yet. I have a queue of interviews I already did. Once we finish those, the newer interviews will have some bonus material, extra material from our guests. So again, head over to Twitter, go to _SEO, follow the page, and get exclusive awesomeness from the podcast.
I think this is the slowest you ever spoke.
I know, I'm trying to, because it's, in search _SEO. I'm trying to be dramatic. Go to the Twitter page. I'm channeling my inner William Shatner. Go in search _SEO on Twitter.
I think we got it.
Yeah, have you ever heard William Shatner sing? Go to YouTube, Google William Shatner song. Google. Go to YouTube and search for William Shatner songs, and you will find exclusive awesomeness. I don't know if it's exclusive, but it's awesome. Right. It's so funny. He's horrible. It's great. Okay. Anyway, time to plug Rank Ranger.
Yeah.
Yes. I forgot what I'm plugging. Oh, yes. If you want to see who's taking the top paid search spots, if you want to track, let's keep the William Shatner thing. If you want to track the ranking trends on the top advertisers on the SERP for your keywords, then you want the Google Ads Monitor. Head over to rankranger.com, sign up for a free trial, check it out so you can see what changes your competitors are making to their ads and how those changes impact rank. So again, Google Ads Monitor, check it out. Go over to rankranger.com, free trial, no credit card because we're not spammy. You get 14 days free. Explore Rank Ranger. Okay, big stuff for you today. Finally, our last of the XMX West interviews that we did, whatever, it doesn't matter. Yep, we're finally done with those. I did 3 interviews at SMX West. Khalid Saleh will be here. He chatted up with us about the emotional side of UX and how you tune yourself into the hearts of your users. Really deep conversation. I love that stuff. I'm a big psychology guy. I like Freud, which everyone hates, but I like Freud. Anyway, whatever. There's so many jokes you can make about that. We're just going to skip over all of them. So no phallic jokes about the Freud. Anyway, we'll get it. Also, after our interview, we'll get into some data. I've been meaning to share data with you forever, you our lovely audience. But because there's so many things with COVID-19 we've spoken about here in the podcast over the last few weeks, we just haven't gotten to it. So I finally get to it with you guys. It's some amazing data and some insights on what might be distracting the user's eye from your featured snippet wins, sort of like what SERP features are eye candy that are distracting the users, your potential users, from engaging with your featured snippet. Okay? So, again, we're doing our interview first. We're going to check out some amazing insights from the freaking awesome conversation I had with Khalid Saleh, CEO of Invest, back when the prospect of human contact didn't make us crap our pants, i.e. back at SMX West where you can actually interact with people. But that's like the scariest thing on the planet now, right? Like you walk down the street and someone's too close to you. Has literally become the scariest thing ever. Like, oh crap, they're too close. Anyway, back when we were allowed to have contact with other people, I spoke to Khalid Saleh all about what it takes to create UX that registers with your audience. So here's our conversation. Cut 1. Welcome to a very special In Search SEO podcast interview session. We are live from San Jose at the wonderful SMX conference, and I am sitting here with the constantly quoted author and industry speaker. He is the king of CRO and the co-founder of Invest, Khalid Saleh.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So I have to say, when I was researching, I always do my research on my guests, and I was looking at your LinkedIn profile. I freaking love your LinkedIn pro. Can I read from it? Can I quote from it? Okay. Sure. You have to check this out. Right? So, you say the CEO of Invest, and here, quote, no growth hacks, strong opinions, weekly held, #do the hard work.
Oh, yeah. You got to do the hard work, especially in marketing.
I love that. So, like, no hacks.
Oh,
no
definitely
hacks.
not.
It's like...
because that's the most common question that I hear. People are always looking for a hack, a trick, as if as if marketing is just a light switch you turn on and off. And I'm like, it's not. It's a lot of hard work. Thus, do the hard work.
Do the hard work.
It's a flywheel that takes a lot of effort to move, but the minute it moves, you just got to keep pushing and pushing.
It's an amazing thing because you take a relationship. Let's say, would you try to hack your way through a relationship?
Definitely not.
No, of course not. Right? Like that would be bad. You would end up miserable, especially if you married that person that you were hacking.
There you go.
So, like, why is work any different? Like, it's called work.
Definitely, and I think that's the problem. I always tell people, I'm like, ultimately, it's a relationship. If you're looking to have something sustainable, long term, it's about the relationship. So I'll throw a different story. We have a client, been with us for a while, and we have long-term contracts. And one day he just decides, you know what, I'm going to stop. I'm looking at the contract. We still have quite a bit of money. So I'm like, hey, can you at least pay a month because we have people on staff? And the guy walks away. We're talking about probably between, I'm not above $10,000.
That really sucks.
And I was just talking to my partner, and I'm like, I mean, by the contract, we can just get the money.
Right.
But it's the relationship. And it's funny because I know most likely they might not come back. But again, it's the relationship. I'm like, you know what? It's fine. It is what it is. Somebody else is going to come and fill that place. So again, you always have to think about the relationship.
It's life is not short. I mean, people say life is short, but in reality, like life is hopefully long. So if you're going to think short term about it, that's stupid.
Oh, I agree. I think lots of times people make decisions when it comes to marketing. They're stupid or delusional.
I like delusional.
And then it's like, what was I thinking? And mind you, by the way, it's funny because I have to remind myself of this constantly. Every once in a while, I look at something, I'm like, oh, I can do this. I've discovered a trick. And I'm like, Khalid, don't do this.
Slow down.
I'm like, this is just not good. And it's not good. Just back away from it. So
it's hard.
Oh, it is.
So I want to talk to you about CRO and UX and CRO, how they interplay together. Before, just a little bit, what is Invest? What do you guys do?
Sure. So we've started Invest back in 2006. In a life prior to Invest, I was a software architect. So building lots of e-commerce for Fortune 500. And 2005, I was software architect for Motorola. At this point, I can share the name. It's been long.
They still make flip phones?
Oh my God. You don't understand. It was such a huge project, $35 million investments in 3 months, mind you. I had a team of about 120 engineers.
Wow.
And it was myself as one of the software architects and two others. It was basically a software, dreamland. We did anything that we can imagine.
That's amazing.
We released the platform, and in a month, we had hundreds of thousands of people come and visit the site. But in a month, we've only had 10 orders. 10 orders for $35 million investment. Mind you, some people lost their jobs.
That's not good.
Not a very good ROI.
Not good.
It's horrible. And, again, I always say, some people lost their jobs. Some people decided, you know what, it's time to do something about this.
Yeah.
And thus, Invest was born.
Okay.
2006. At that point in time, by the way, there was only 2 other companies doing conversion optimization in the U.S. One of them, since then, had gone bankrupt. The other still continues.
So they weren't so good at converting, evidently.
Yeah, it's
terrible.
It's horrible because they're still really thought leaders in the industry.
Yeah, I'm making.
Yeah. But the rest of this is history. So we've been at it since then. We've worked with large and small clients all
good
over.
For you guys, awesome. So we'll definitely link to your site in the blog post of Harbors of Podcast and check it out. All right, so I love CRO. I have SEO. I love CRO because it pushes me to my limits because I'm not a CRO expert, but there's so much psychology behind CRO, which I love psychology. All right, so before we get into that, just make sure the audience is sort of on the same page. When we talk about CRO and UX and the interplay together, what the hell are we talking about?
Sure. So CRO, conversion rate optimization, is basically persuading your website visitors. You're persuading them to take the action that you want them to take on a website. Typically, it's a conversion. Now, if it's an e-commerce website, it's typically somebody placing an order. If you're a SaaS website, somebody subscribing. If your website is a lead generation, I need somebody to contact me, somebody filling out that form. So I always think, and of course I'm biased a little bit, so I consider UX to be part of CRO.
Mm-hmm.
UX to me is that user interaction with the website. I click on a button, the right thing happens. What I'm expecting to happen happens. So I always say UX is about the functionality, the functional aspects of your website. You want your website to be functional. So there's this famous saying from a Harvard professor that says, no one buys a quarter-inch drill, everybody buys a quarter-inch hole. That's kind of the very famous saying, and people always shake their heads. And I tell them, like, I don't know about you, but I've never bought a quarter-inch drill. I've never bought a quarter-inch hole either, to be honest with you. Like, and we just moved to a new house in Chicago, and I had, like, all these, like, pictures and paintings, and my wife, who's my partner, kept on nagging me. He's like, when are you going to hang the pictures? When are you going to hang the pictures? And I'm like, okay.
By the way, my house is the opposite.
Oh,
I'm the one. I want, like, we got to hang up the pictures. But I was like, yeah, but you got to tell me where it goes. I want to hang it up already.
Oh my God. No, I'm
so
like
I'm not. It's the opposite. I'm the nag.
There you go.
Yeah.
I go, like, to Home Depot. I get the drill. And some people are really handy. Sounds like you might be.
I am. No. I am
you're
not
not.
very
Oh, okay.
handy. I think I am.
Oh, at least
right, but I am not handy.
I know I am not. That's a whole other story. Like I can do a whole show about things I've ruined.
That'd be great. We should do that. Follow up.
There you go.
Right.
So I get the drill and I start drilling, like and hanging the pictures, and I think to myself, UX is about having the nail on the wall. That's the functional aspect, and that's something I needed to do. Now, there's other elements to the process of of what I did. There is an emotional side, my wife getting off my back, so I've like no more nagging, so that's the emotional side. So whenever people are buying a product, there's an emotional side that they're trying to get. And then there's a social side, which is how I'm perceived with my friends when they come and visit and they see the pictures and the beautiful basement and, so anytime you are selling something on the web, there is a functional aspect. You want to make sure that the UX is there and people, when they want to check out, they're able to check out. But also you want to focus on the emotional side of things and the social side of things. And that's, I think, where CRO is, focusing on those two aspects. It doesn't make sense to focus on the emotional and social aspects if you have a major bug in the side that
right,
people can't even finish the checkout.
We're not even near emotions at this point.
Exactly. It's like
other than frustration.
Give them the basics, correct? And then after that, think about that second level of, okay, well, here's the emotional and social aspects.
So I love that. There's a psychoanalyst called named Theodore Reich, and he has a thing called listening with the third ear, which basically, like, I understand you emotionally because I understand myself emotionally, and we're foundationally the same. So therefore, I could be empathetic or sympathetic or understand you. And I'm wondering, when you're doing CRO or you're looking at UX, how much of it is it about you being in touch with your own emotional experience so that you can project it onto the user?
It's a tough one, I tell you.
Okay.
I always have to remind myself I am not the user.
Right, because you can go both ways with this.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So what we do is a bit different, which is sort of interesting, trying to get to those emotional and social sides. So lots of times what happens when people are thinking about psychology and then human emotion, what they do is they bring the users and they tell them, so why did you buy our product? And what happens is that people give you type of mind answers. Well, I bought it because I need X, Y, Z. So I've learned over the years to never ask why you bought the product. I always ask, when did you buy the product? And when did you first think that you need to buy a product? Let me give you an example. So one of our clients sells these very expensive bikes. You're talking about just a regular bike, but people are spending $5,000 to $7,000 on it. And we're trying to figure out, okay, so how do we increase conversions? And we bring some people who bought the bike, just bought it in the last 30 days, and we're talking to them. So I asked this one guy, I'm like, so when did you think about first, buying this bicycle? Because it's really expensive. He said, well, it was Saturday morning. I was riding with a group of other guys, and I look at the guy who's leading the group, and he had this amazing, beautiful bike. And I asked the guy, I said, so how did that make you feel? He said, well, I felt very envious. I'm like, wow. Now, as a marketer, by the way, that is a treasure. I can do so much.
That's gold.
Exactly.
It's like gold.
I mean, you would never get that, by the way. No one's going to tell you, so why did you buy the bike? Because I felt envious.
Jealous.
Exactly.
I'm a bastard.
And it's so powerful because you go buy the bike.
Yeah, now you know where to, your pain point. Like, you know where to focus. And squeeze hard.
If you know the emotion, you know exactly what you can do with it as a marketer. Yeah. And I think that's where it becomes really powerful, figuring out those emotions. What can you do to really play with those emotions? I'll give you another example. So one of our clients, basically, they sell apartments, and it's for retirement, basically a retirement community. And as they're doing the interviews, I'm like, the pricing was right, everything was right. People were just not buying. And it turns out that people were not buying because of their dining tables. People say, dining tables, really? Well, as it turns out that the dining tables that they've had, and they've had them in their house for many years and so many memories, were too large for the apartments. And they just really had a tough time giving up those dining tables. So, food for thought. Again, if you're able to drill really deep and figure out the emotions behind buying a product, your conversion rate is a whole other level.
So that's what's, the first thing that strikes me is yes, I know they're emotional and I can go for it. Right? But then the good part of me says, okay, you have to be careful, right? I don't want to you don't want to squeeze too hard. You don't want to manipulate too far. How do you sort of know that, which in the long run won't work for you, I don't think. How do you balance that?
I'll answer that by a story from one of our clients. Comes to us in 2011. The CEO at that point and a single person doing all the marketing. Yeah, 2-man operation. I mean, they were doing $500,000, nothing. And it's amazing. I saw them go from about 1% conversion rate until about 2017, when they had gone up to 8%, 8.5%. Very impressive. And what was a single person marketing department, now they had a CRO team that's 8 or 9 people. But what they've done is they forgot about the relationship. They really used all the hacks, all the tricks, and people eventually caught on.
You catch on and you resent that.
Oh, and guess what? What happened to them? People bought an item once and they never came back to convert.
Interesting.
And people walked away until to the point we went from 1% to 8.5%, and then they went down to about 2%. And I still remember their CEO called me. He's like, hey, we went from okay, we started at $500,000, we went to 20 million, now we're down to $1 million in sales. And he panicked, and I told him, I'm like, you way over optimized. I was being nice. I'm like, you over optimized this to the point that it was just lots of trickery. You're not going to trick people into a relationship.
There is nothing, nothing worse I could think of. Philosophically, I think it makes a lot of sense why this is. Nothing worse than feeling used.
Oh, definitely. And unfortunately, you can do that. There's lots of tricks that you can do, but eventually people catch.
Everybody catches on. People are not stupid.
Exactly. And if you think people are stupid, I always tell people, I'm like, there is nothing that irritates me more than finding out that a vendor thinks I'm stupid, or an employee for that matter. I'm like, come on, Right. I'm like, I'm too nice. I will ignore once or twice.
Right.
But if you continue doing it, I'm like, come on, man. I'll catch on, and I'll goodbye and good luck.
And people are not stupid.
Exactly.
You're going to get caught. Speaking about this, when you're thinking about your UX, right? I'm not talking about for a particular product in a particular moment. I mean, foundationally speaking, what do you want it to say so that people feel confident or comfortable making that purchase?
I mean, I think what you need to do when it comes to UX, you need to make sure that the user experience and how they interact and what they expect on a website, whether it's a mobile site or the desktop version, really matches what they expecting. It's funny because I was trying to buy an audio equipment a couple days ago, and I'm ready to buy, and I go and I add an item to the cart. It's almost $300 mic. I'm like, okay, we'll go ahead and buy it. And for the life of me, I cannot find the checkout button. And I'm like, where is the checkout button?
I love that.
2020, come on, guys.
That means, by the way, that no one actually tried to buy anything on their own site.
Oh, definitely. I'm looking through it and I'm like, where is your checkout button? Come on. And turns out, typically we have the checkout, in the right upper corner. It was there, but they had designed it so differently. It threw me off completely. And mind you, I'm somebody who's on the web constantly. Same thing. I'm like, I go in President's Day. I want to buy some furniture for the kids. There's some sales and discounts, and I have a credit card with this furniture store. I add 2-bedroom sets. I'm like, okay, we're gonna go ahead and spend those $4,000. It is what it is, and I'm ready to check out. And I'm on their mobile site, and I'm sure almost everybody's on mobile. And I get this pop-up that appears and disappears again.
Also, unbelievable.
And I'm like, are you guys kidding me? This is a $4,000. And I'm not
to be kidding.
And I'm not the single person. So my wife pulls it up and she's like, well, let me see. And she does lots of the CRO work for us. So she's like, yeah, they have a bug. And she literally like does a couple of things and she figures out how, I'm like, how do you do that? You know?
Yep. No, we had, by the way, on our blog at one point, we had a pop-up and there was a bug. You couldn't get rid of it. I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible.
It was there because lots of times people don't visit their own site, correct? Like,
right. No, we caught it really quickly, actually.
Exactly.
But yeah.
No, like, and it's funny. So I'll continue with that. After she figures it out, I started the checkout, and guess what? My session had expired, and the items are removed from the. And I'm like, and I have not placed the order.
And you're not going back.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay,
Screw
you know,
this.
exactly.
This.
I'm like, I'm not going to deal with this. You know, I'm like,
screw this.
But imagine how much money they're losing. Yeah,
$4,000.
Exactly. I mean, I'm sure it's a lot more than that.
Right.
Like, you know, if it's $4,000 per day, you just do the math.
I don't want to do that math. That's crazy. Also, I don't like math. So.
There you go.
But you know, when you're talking about this, you know, what's safe, what's familiar. Do you find that it's hard to be innovative at the same time because you're always trying to make sure that it's familiar? So how do you innovate?
So that's actually one of the challenging things, correct, with marketers. Marketers are very predictable because we always copy other marketers.
Right. We're lazy.
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, it's just easier that way. So there's this right balance between providing users with the experience that they expect, correct? So the button's in the right place. When I click on them, this happens. The product offering, though, has to be unique and different. You need to figure out, and I always tell people, and I take this from Keith Cunningham, where he says, you need to figure out the difference that makes the difference, correct? The difference in your product and your offer that makes the difference for your prospect, where they say, I want to buy this. And this is a hard one. I'll give an example from the Purple mattress.
Okay.
They say 50% of the people who go to Purple and use it love it, and the other 50% absolutely hate it because of the way it's structured.
Yep.
Now, when you go on Purple's website, it's just kind of standard, you know, but the mattress itself and how they create it is very unique and very, very different. In that sense, I think there's place for innovation and there's place for traditional things that people expect.
So when you're innovating, right? You know, everyone has certain biases that you walk in with.
Definitely.
Right. So you know, and they're very hard to catch and they're very subtle, but they're very meaningful and they're very dramatic when they do come out. If you're being innovative, there is a certain amount of bias that I like this. Mm-hmm. How do you catch that?
It is so extremely challenging. So I'll give you another story. So,
I mean, you have your wife, so that's easy.
I mean, I always trust her. And I'm like, you know what? I will yield to
right.
you.
You want to do this? What are you talking about?
Exactly.
Right.
So there's this guy in India who sits there and looks at, like, you know, you're talking about 1 billion people living, and he says, you know, a high number of those people, you're talking a high percentage, they don't have appliances. They cannot afford appliances. They cannot afford, you know, to have a fridge. And he says, you know what, we can build a fridge that's really cheap. Instead of paying $500, $600, $1,000, you can buy the fridge for $60. He goes to Harvard and he talks to a whole bunch of professors. He talks to the late Leighton Christensen, who is basically the father of innovation. And he tells them, you know, we have this idea. What do you think sounds like a great idea? Let's go ahead and do it. So they invest, they raise funds, they build this fridge for $60, which is amazing. It's an innovative product. They put it out in the market, and they had interviewed people, and people told them, yes, you know, we cannot afford, like, you know, the fridges that are like 1,000 or 600. Right. They put it out there, and no one's interested in buying the $60 fridge.
Why?
Why? Simple, because people have basically figured out ways around buying the $600 fridge. They buy their produce every day. They have ways to cool the water. They cannot afford to pay even the $60 for this fridge. So,
wow, that's bias right there.
And people had told them that, by the way, during the interviews, but they just did not listen. They were listening like, well, I can't afford the $600. People were telling them they cannot really afford even the $60, but they just did not listen. You're talking about Harvard professors who failed, the innovators, the investors, and basically they just went bankrupt.
Wow, that's like good intentions failing miserably.
There you go. So I always have to remind myself you always ask yourself this question: what am I not seeing?
Yeah.
You know, what don't I see?
But you need to have somebody on the outside.
Oh, definitely. And sometimes, like, you know, it's kind of the thinking time.
Which, you know, hurts your ego, by the way.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Oh, I've been humbled doing CRO. I've been humbled.
Yeah,
so
you're working
times,
with your wife every day.
You know,
right.
It's just funny because sometimes I would look at something and I'm like, oh, surely this is gonna win. I mean, this is just absolutely genius. And then you put it out and, like, you know, people think otherwise. I'm like, are you guys kidding?
I've had that. Like, I love this article. It's my best article I've ever written. Foomp, flat on its face.
Nothing. You know, and then, like, you know, I will do an article that's really quick and I'm like, why are people sharing it? You know, and it's like.
I was talking to Barry Schwartz about this at one point. We're talking about, you know, he said that he was surprised, you know, some things he thought, like, everyone's going to talk about this article. Like it's going to be buzzworthy for sure. And then no one talks about it. And then he gave me a couple of topics where I thought no one's going to talk about this, and everyone's off the charts talking about it. So you never know.
I've learned this, so this is going to date me, but I mean, again, like, in the old days, 13, 14 years ago, dig.com used to be big. And like one of the things I'm like, I want to get on the first page of Dig. That was like a big thing. Like, you were just like first page of Reddit. And, we would write these articles and I'm like, this is so like, first page worth it. And nothing happens. And then a couple of times I write something I'm like, so silly. I'm like, really? This is what people liked? But, people in their minds.
It's almost insulting.
I don't even think about it. I just put it aside and just look at it,
Okay, so instead of talking about ranking, I'm glad we're talking about ranking. So this is an SEO podcast, and CRO and SEO, they sort of go hand in hand together. But I'm wondering, does a good UX from a CEO perspective and a good UX from an SEO perspective, do they completely align, or is there some sort of discord between them?
I think at some point, maybe 10 years ago, we used to say that there is some discord between them. But in all honesty, I think everybody caught on, whether SEO or UX or CROs, that ultimately the goal is to help increase sales. Increase sales, I can have the most amazing ranking, but if I'm not generating sales, who cares? I can have the most amazing UX, but if people are not coming, then who cares? So you gotta work hand in hand. On that note, so we're talking about UX and CRO, and lots of times, understanding your competition is also extremely critical. So for a long time, I thought, we compete with other CRO firms. We're a CRO firm, we compete with other CRO firms. And then, because people hire us to increase conversions, then one day it hit me that people actually do not hire us to increase conversions. People hire you, hire me, hire SEO to increase sales. Guess what? All of a sudden, my domain of competition increased tremendously. And this hit me, how did it hit me? I go to this one company, and we've been chasing them for a while. Large marketing budget, $100 million annually on just marketing. And I'm talking to him. I'm like, we don't cost that much. You can hire us. He said, we're spending about $80 million on print catalogs that we send in the mail. And I'm like, what?
That's crazy.
And that's what we're competing with. I would have never thought about that, but really in his mind, and it made sense, by the way. For him, it made sense. He knows exactly how much money he generates. And I'm like, what I'm competing with is a service I've never considered that I'm competing with. So understanding your competition also helps you increase your conversion rates.
That's a good point. I like that. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. And then there are many, many points or many, many instances where who you think your competitors are not who your competitors are.
Definitely.
Because we take competitor analysis very linearly a lot of the time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's a good point to sort of, so I have this, to sort of switch a little bit. So I have this fun game that I do called Optimize It or Disavow It. Yep. If you're a long-time listener of the show, you know that it means, they're going to give you two options that are really, really good, and you're stuck choosing one good option over another good option. That's, it's kind of comfortable.
Let's see.
Or I'll give you two really bad options, and you're stuck choosing one crappy option over another crappy option. So this is Optimize It or Disavow It. When thinking of UX and CRO, if you had to pick one over the other, and you can't say it depends. I mean, you can, but it's a cop-out.
No, I hate it.
Okay, good. Thank you. Awesome.
I have a rule against it. Depends.
So if you're building a team to do CRO, do you build your team with people who are one or the other, who have a strong technical background, or a strong background in marketing psychology?
Oh, God. I actually, it's funny because I have to deal with that quite a bit. I would go with strong psychology.
Okay.
I would choose that anytime.
Yeah. Okay. I agree. Intuitively, I agree with you. But the experts, why would you go with that one?
Yeah. I come from a technical background. I'm actually every once in a while I'll pull up something and I'll program it myself. You can hire a good programmer. They're easy to find. With all due respect to my programmer friends.
All due respect.
However, finding a marketer who really understands psychology, oh my God,
that's very rare.
So difficult. So difficult. I can also, by the way, I can teach a developer how to become a marketer, but it's not the other way around. So I'm always looking for that marketer that's able to sit down, drill deep into human motivation, spend the time and invest the time into understanding marketing. I have some marketers on my team who always tell me, I want to learn programming. I'm like, no. Marketing is such a humongous ocean, and you have limited time in this life. Invest it in learning marketing.
Stick to your, like I said in my things in my SMX speech. Stick to your core profile.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, that's true. Like marketing, in psychology, all those things, like at a certain level, you either have it or you don't have it, and that's it.
Oh, I agree. It's hard. Like, I'm always amazed. Like, sometimes I see somebody who really understands marketing so well that I'm like, oh man, I just want to follow them and just learn from them. You can just learn so much because you're really learning about human psychology, and it's funny because we're all humans. Yet,
right? We're not all programmers, but we're all humans.
But there's the program, and I always talk about SEO versus CRO. So when you're doing SEO, you're trying to decipher to a good extent the Google algorithm, a machine algorithm, correct? And now it's a lot more complex than 10 years ago. But when you're doing CRO or psychology, you're trying to decipher the human algorithm. And oh my god, that is also a whole other, you can write volumes about that.
Like, as much as Google will try to act like a human, which I very much on the bandwagon that they are doing that and doing a great job of it. Imagine Google as your wife. Okay, that's never going to be as complicated as your wife. A lot of wife jokes in this episode.
I'll just make sure my wife doesn't listen.
No, my wife, I can say what I want. My wife does not listen to this. So I am. I mean, one day she will, and I'll be in big trouble. But no, it's always going to, the human personality, I talk about this a lot in this podcast, that machine learning will develop, AI will develop. But it's never going to get to the point where it is anywhere near the ineffability, the depth of the human personality.
Human personality is
it's something remarkable.
So complicated.
Yeah.
That been around for thousands, tens of thousands of years, yet we still don't understand ourselves.
Which is crazy.
And
we never will. We never will.
I'll mention a story about robots and humans. If we talk about a robot, if you ask me to draw a robot and you draw a robot, we both probably going to draw something similar, although robots don't exist.
My drawing will suck.
Oh, I think mine is worse.
Okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
All right.
But we would draw something very similar if you think about it. Although it doesn't exist. So Sony, I think 20 years ago, they said, you know what, we want to build a robot. And then they thought to themselves, there was a really smart team. They're like, oh, we're not going to build a robot in the same version that you and I imagine. They built it as a small puppy. Now, AI at that point was not really advanced, so really, it was not really that great, but they released it anyways. And lots of times, when you went to that puppy, that Sony had released and it cost about $2,500, and you told it, sit, it just would not respond to you. Go, it doesn't respond to you. You called it, because the programming was so bad. The way they marketed that puppy was not as a robot. They marketed it as a puppy. So, the human mind and how we play tricks on ourselves, because it was marketed as a puppy. When people asked it to sit or gave it a command and didn't respond, they
That's
said,
amazing.
puppy, I love the attitude. No, dude, it's not the attitude. It's just bad programming. The New York Times review and the London Times review, they said, the attitude that this, puppy had. And it's just amazing how by reclassifying this robot into a different category, although everybody knew it's a robot, people start playing tricks on themselves.
That's confirmation bias.
All the way.
At its
there
best.
You go.
That's a good point to end. Thank you so much for coming on. Good luck. You're speaking tomorrow here at SMX, so good luck on your presentation. By the time this episode airs, it'll be well over, and I'm sure it'll be awesome.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You got it. My pleasure. And we are back to your regularly scheduled InSearch SEO podcast. Don't forget, follow the InSearch SEO podcast now on Twitter at InSearch_SEO. Just thought I had to drop that again for you.
Thank you, Mordy.
You're welcome, in case you forgot. Or you can also rewind the podcast to hear that again and again and again, if you so choose. If that's your thing.
Right.
Go ahead, go for it. It's InSearch_SEO on Twitter.
Thank you, Mordy.
You're welcome. Okay, so I have been looking to share this data for so long. Okay, but between COVID and this and that, we never got to it, and it's a crying shame. It is a crying shame. Anyway, a little while back, I took a look at what sort of SERP goodies are showing up, on the SERP with your feature snippet. What SERP features are showing some skin on the SERP and vying for user attention, which you would rather not have there because users may be clicking on those other features and not your featured snippet. So it's what's competing with feature snippets on the SERP for user attention because we are going data. I'm all about qualifying things. Qualitative analysis is just my thing. Not good, not bad, just my thing. And I don't remember what it was that got me thinking about this. Trying to remember. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. I was thinking, okay, what else shows up on the SERP that would compete with other SERP features? Like, what would show up on a local pack that might compete for user attention away from the local pack and take user eyes somewhere else? I'm just making that up. Local pack, not so much really shows up there. And of course, the mother of all SERP features, which isn't really a SERP feature anymore, it's organic one, doesn't matter. Okay, but the mother lode of all SERP features is the feature snippet. So I'm like, all right, why don't we take a look, use Rank Ranger data, and see what other features tend to show up with feature snippets, and what could be competing for user attention. So
and what else could you try to win if you don't have the featured snippet?
Good point, right? If you know what else is showing up and you can't get that feature snippet, well, let me try to get some of these other goodies and distract users away from my competitor's feature snippet. Most definitely works both ways. So I took a look at dozens of data points over 2019 to see what shows up with feature snippets both on desktop and on mobile.
Before you start babbling, let's run through the numbers, okay?
Okay.
So
Thank you.
You're welcome. So you wrote in
was
the article.
Was that a suggestion or a command?
A command.
A command. So it shall be written, so it shall be done. To quote Yul Brynner from the Ten Commandments. You saw that, right?
You just follow after my lead, okay?
Yeah.
So
fine.
You wrote in the article.
Yes, this was a blog post, by the way. This was a blog post that I did, but we're going to go into a little bit of a different direction with this. I'm sorry.
Right.
Your wish is my command. Go ahead and do your thing.
So as I was saying,
don't let me interrupt you.
Article, God. Okay, as I was saying, you wrote in the article, below is the percentage of time a given SERP feature appears on the same result page as a featured snippet on both desktop and mobile. So on
I like how you say
desktop-
mobile. Mobile. Not mobile, it's mobile. Sorry. Yeah,
You have a
desktop.
problem with how I say
I have a
it?
problem with everything. Don't you understand? I will criticize, critique, and
it.
cynically approach everything except myself.
Anyways, let's run through the numbers.
Okay.
So on desktop, the knowledge panel appears 6.52% of the time.
With a feature
Local
snippet. Wait. Let me please allow me to clarify that.
Yeah.
A knowledge panel does not show on the SERP 6.52% of the time. It shows with a feature. It shows like around 10% of all SERPs, 15% of all SERPs, whatever it is. It shows with a featured snippet 6% of the time. All these numbers are with featured snippets. Sorry, I just had to clarify that. Oh yes.
Thank you, Mordy.
The next feature, which at your discretion.
Local pack 6.55%. Top stories carousel 3.28%.
Yeah, top stories don't really show up with feature snippets very often. Just 3% of all feature snippets also show a top stories carousel. But interesting when it does happen.
Right.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you again.
Yes.
You're saying and or ads? Ads. Okay.
Yeah, 57.39%.
That's a whopper. A lot of ads with those featured snippets. That's a whopper. Big one.
Video box 57.71%.
That's also a whopper. A lot of videos on there, the feature snippets. I feel like I'm arrested. A lot of videos on there with them feature snippets. Come and get it. For those of you who watch 80s wrestling, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For those of you who didn't watch 80s wrestling, you're like, what's this guy doing? Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yes.
What else we got?
Okay.
Very sorry.
Related questions. Oh, you're going to like this one. 88.13%.
Yep, 88.13. Related questions, by the way, is what we call people also ask. So those show up with feature snippets 88% of the time.
Right. And video box plus ads plus related questions 29.22%.
That's also crazy. So if you have a feature snippet, on 30% of those feature snippet SERPs, you also have a video carousel, an ad, and the related questions box. That's insane. Okay, so you see that there's sort of a breakdown here, right? Knowledge panel, local pack, top stories carousel, not so much. Ads, video box, related questions, those are your big ones. And they appear, all of those three together, well, four if you include the feature snippet, so video box, ads, related questions, and a feature snippet, all show up on the same results page like 30% of the time. Nuts. Should we do mobile?
Right. Yes.
Or as you call it, mobile?
Mobile.
Like to quote the Who, going mobile. Who are the Who?
Mobile. What's wrong with mobile?
Nothing. I like that. I think it's great. I like that. It's very sophisticated. I think mobile. It rolls better.
Okay.
You can like really exaggerate it more. Mobile. Not like
Okay.
crude New York or mobile. It's mobile.
Shut up, Morty. Okay.
Like my kids. Shut up, Dad. Ah.
Okay. So, numbers. Okay.
Let's run through quick. Let's do it. I won't interrupt you.
Okay. Oh, really? Okay. So I'm not gonna stop. Okay. Knowledge panel 1.17%. Local pack 2.56%. Top stories carousel 2.05%. Ads 54.92%. Related questions, as in people also ask, 63.73%. Ads plus related questions 48.9%.
Yeah, totally crazy. So you notice a drop off in the knowledge panel, local pack, top stories carousel. They show up even less with featured snippets on mobile, and that makes a lot of sense because there's just not a lot of space. In other words, on desktop, you have the right side of the page, right? So
Yeah.
you can show the knowledge panel, or you have way more that shows up above the fold on desktop than you do on mobile. So those sort of top heavy features, you're going to see them fall off. Or the knowledge panel with the right hand side, it has to go in the main column. That's going to fall off. And by the way, you'll notice, for those of you who are astutely listening, that we didn't do video on mobile. And that's because we didn't start tracking the video box on mobile in earnest until late 2019. So I did look at the data on that. It's a much more limited data set. Again, we didn't start tracking that until way later in 2019. But from what I've seen, the mobile video box shows with a mobile featured snippet about 10% of the time, perhaps more. So there's definitely a lot of competition there. It's definitely different. Okay? Some things are relatively the same, related questions and ads, mobile, desktop. That seems to be pretty similar. Okay, but but the point is there's a lot to compete with the feature snippet. But you do have to be careful about the data here, because each of these features has their own advantage and disadvantage. Like take ads. Ads appear above a feature snippet. They're the first thing the user will see. They will not see your feature snippet. There could be 4 ads that appear above a feature snippet. That's a lot of heavy competition, right? Well, yeah, because they're above a feature snippet, but they're also ads. And ads suck. No one likes ads. We're all skeptical of ads. Ads are evil.
Okay,
I'm going too far with it. But yes, there may be 4 ads above your feature snippet, but it's not the same thing as having 4 organic results above your featured snippet. So you have to qualify it, right? Knowledge panel, local pack, not really the same intent. It may not mean much.
A knowledge panel could.
A knowledge panel could. A knowledge panel could, in theory, right? It could match the same intent. That's true. I take that back. I would imagine first off, those cases are outliers, especially on mobile, with there being limited space on the SERP. But even on desktop, a lot of the cases where you have a feature snippet and a knowledge panel, there's a lot of cases where they're both Wikipedia URLs, and it's showing very similar content in there. So I'm not terribly afraid of the knowledge panel if I have a feature snippet there. I'm just not. But that's really the point, right? You have to start thinking about this because data is awesome. The data here is awesome. I know I did it. But you have to look at what implications are there based upon what those competing features mean. You know what I mean?
Right. No, for sure. Like, I personally like the video box, that the video box is a huge distraction because I love video content, so I automatically gravitate towards it.
Yeah, me too. I'm a big video person. I love video. I can spend my whole life on YouTube, which is kind of the point, right? There are a million ways you can take the data here. If you have a strong feature snippet, meaning it's a real feature snippet for a real informative query, not one of those feature snippets that Google shows where you type in a really long tail keyword and Google shows a feature snippet anyway. I'm not talking about that. Not like some obscure long tail keyword that Google is just throwing up there for the sake of whatever. Those are meh, whatever. But imagine it's a real featured snippet, okay? Like something really, top level, high search traffic, high search volume, a substantial featured snippet. And imagine there's nothing on the page but the featured snippet, the organic results, and a related questions box, the people also ask box.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but if Google's getting the intent wrong with the featured snippet, people are going to start opening up those questions in the PAA box and the people also ask box. And they're going to start either skimming the content in those boxes, or they're going to start visiting the URLs in those boxes. So it's really that's the entire point. Like, you have to really understand what is on the page, right? I did it. Okay, let me take this back a step. Why did I do this study? Was it to tell you, ads are going to impact your CTR feature snippets, X percent? No, that's not what the study is about, and there's no way I could possibly know that. Yeah,
I'm listening.
Okay, no, I'm glad. I'm glad you're listening.
What you have to say for once. Oh my god.
Oh my god. No, I think we take these studies the wrong way a lot of the time. And then we think, oh, wow, ads show up 50% of the time with a feature snippet. Oh my gosh. That's not how to take this study. This is not meant to tell you, okay, you're competing with an ad X percentage of time. Here's what's going to happen to your traffic from this feature snippet. It's more a wake-up call. It's challenging. I did this study that challenged the general notion that a featured snippet is an automatic win, meaning there's a lot of eye candy on the pages. There's a lot of things showing some skin, trying to get some attention away from your featured snippet. So now you should, Sapir, investigate. Thank you. Not like, this is it. I've read the study. Now I have information. No, you don't. You have nothing. You don't have nothing. You should read the study and whatever. You don't have nothing, but it's really more a wake-up call to now you need to start thinking into things. And I spoke about this in a recent post where we went through how to qualify your rankings. It's the same premise. You need to qualify your rank. You need to qualify the feature snippet to see, how does this feature snippet win? How powerful is it really?
Okay, but how do you do that?
But yeah, that's a good question. 2 steps. 2 steps. One, and this is okay. This I did not cover in the study. This is exclusive podcast content.
Ooh.
Here it comes.
Drum roll?
Drum roll as I think about how I'm going to explain this. Ready? Drum roll.
Yeah.
Thank you for the distraction. Let me keep talking for a second while I can conjure this up in my head. 2 ways. Okay, yeah. One is you need to see what's actually showing on the SERP with your featured snippet. It's not enough to know, okay, in general, ads show X percentage of times with featured snippets. Okay, you need to, it could be an image box, which I didn't study because I didn't think it was that pertinent. I have limited time, limited resources. I picked the features I thought were the most important, and the image box wasn't one of them. And I could be wrong. You'd be like, a featured image box is super important, and it might be. And it might be for your queries. But this is exactly what I'm trying to say here. You should look and see what SERP features show up with your feature snippet, which, by the way, Rank Ranger will tell you in its Rank Insights report. So head over to Rank Ranger. Okay. You know what I'm saying? It makes sense. Like, how are you supposed to know? Unless you know, how are you supposed to qualify anything unless you know what's on the actual page? The second thing is, even if you know what's on the page, right? I know that on this page with my feature snippet are 2 ads, an image box, and a related questions box. People also ask. Okay, but what's actually in those features, and how does it speak to user intent? I'll give you an example, okay? You ready?
Yeah.
I was thinking about this. Let's say you search for where is the ivy at Wrigley Field, or where does the ivy at Wrigley Field grow?
What is Wrigley Field?
What is Wrigley Field? Holy mackerel! Actually, you know what? I forgive you for
that.
It's baseball. It's baseball.
Is it a movie?
Is it a movie? It's in movies.
No one cares about baseball.
Except for the millions of people who watch it. No one cares about baseball. Except for the millions and millions of people who watch it. Wrigley Field is one of the most famous stadiums in the world. It's a very, very old baseball stadium. One of the original, from the 1900s kind of stadiums. I mean, they've obviously revamped it. It's not like you're sitting in a 100-year-old seat from 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
but it's the original stadium, and it's very famous. The wall in the outfield is covered in ivy.
Okay.
Okay? Which, by the way, when you search for where does the ivy at Wrigley Field grow, at least when I did it, I got a feature snippet.
Oh.
But let's just say there was an image box there at the same time. Okay? That would answer the question, wouldn't it? Like, if I see in the picture where it is, oh, it's on the outfield wall, do I really need the feature snippet to tell me that? No.
Yeah, you hope. Right.
No, not necessarily. Right? Yeah, the feature snippet would tell me that. You're right. But I don't really need it. I could look at the image and get the same answer. In fact, I would go so far as to say embedded in that query, in the intent in that query, is an image intent. That's part of the intent here. You want to see what it looks like. Or if it's not part of the actual intent, it's really the next natural result. Like, okay, where is it? Now let me see it. Right? So if you had an image box there, you can do both at one time. You would know where it is and what it looks like. So in that case, you really need to qualify intent to say, okay, there's an image box here. Image boxes, no one cares about image boxes. But yeah, for this intent, the image is really important. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, like 100%. You could also search for something like some politicians' political policy on whatever topic and see a featured snippet, but see fresh news content on it as well.
You mean fresh news content in the featured snippet or fresh news content on the SERP?
On the SERP.
Oh, okay, I get you. Yes, I love that example. That's an awesome example. Right, let's say you search for, I don't know, like Trump immigration policy. That's a great query, because in the U.S., I think Trump just put a freeze on immigration, right? So I would imagine, I haven't checked it out, but I would imagine you search for Trump immigration policy, you might get a featured snippet about what his immigration policy is in general.
Right.
And you probably would get a news box about the recent news.
Right.
Right? So yeah, news boxes only show up on 3% of all featured snippet SERPs, but in that case, you will see relevant content, like, newsworthy, up-to-date content and the general policy at the same time. You might forget the actual policy in general. Let me click on the news content. That's a great example. I didn't think about it. That's good. I like that. You're welcome. And that's good. That's good. Because speaking of the news, check out that pivot. That's $1 million pivot right there. That's a heck of a pivot, Morty. Speaking of the news, there's some major news coming out on the SERP, in Google land, in SEO, in the SEO world. So Sapir, could you please hit it with the news?
In a move which will be permanent, Google has opened its shopping program to all retailers for free. You will not need to pay to be featured within the shopping tab. Of course, you can still advertise for sponsored slots on the shopping SERP.
So Google said they did this because of COVID-19 and businesses are being impacted and they're moving towards an e-commerce model, which is great. I believe them. I do. A lot of this also has to do with Amazon, right? Because now Google's opening up to way more retailers. It's an interesting move. I'm surprised it didn't happen earlier. I do want to go into it in more depth, which I will. In a deep thought, which will be featured. Of course I will. Which will be featured on the In Search Podcast Twitter page. So go head over to Twitter, type in @InSearch_SEO, and you'll see this in the coming days after the release of the podcast. A deeper look at what this means. Plug in away at the Twitter page. Plug it away. Get those followers up.
Can we move on?
We can. And we shall. Could we go back to you not knowing Wrigley Field for a second? I don't know. Sorry. It just bothers me.
Okay, moving on.
Do you know what Yankee Stadium is?
Of course I know.
See? Everyone knows the Yankees. Everyone knows the Yankees. Most popular.
It's because of the hat.
It's because of the hat.
I know the Yankees because of the hat.
Most popular sports brand in the whole world, by the way, because of New York, because of the NY on the hat. I don't think most people in other countries know what it means. Like, oh, NY, just New York is actually a baseball team. But yeah. Okay. I'm glad you knew that. Do you know the Mets?
Yeah.
Forget it. No, you don't. It's okay. How about the Phillies? Marlins? No? Rangers? Mariners? Forget it. Okay. Let's stick to the news.
Thank you.
Kaminsky Park? Wrigley Field? Okay. Wait. What about Fenway Stadium? What about Fenway? What about Fenway Park?
What? What?
Fenway. It's where the Red Sox play. Forget it.
Reds? Socks?
Yeah, red
What
socks.
even mean that?
It's
Oh my god.
it's better than
Do
red
they get
underwear.
penalty for wearing black socks?
Oh,
Or
black socks is a different story. We'll talk about it another time. Okay. No, there's no
there
penalties in
isn't?
baseball.
Okay. Moving on. There is indication that Google, as it did a few months back, had an issue with indexing new content, which is, of course, a very big problem for news publishers.
Right, and Google quickly fixed this one and said, hey, it's back, it's up, it's running, whatever. But it is interesting to see these problems keep showing up over and over and over again with Google having a problem indexing new content, which, for your average site, they get it today, they get it tomorrow, okay. But for a news site, that sucks. That's my official commentary. That sucks.
That was super
deep. That was a deep thought.
Professional, yeah.
Right.
Professional commentary, right.
Another deep thought with Mordy Oberstein.
Moving on. Google's local service ads are offering vendors the option to list if they offer alternative services that are COVID-19 specific. For example, a plumber could list if they offer video consultations.
Yeah, tons of this is coming. Tons of this stuff in the local world. I saw another one where, I'll spit it out in the local knowledge panel. There we go. Google is adding in for like healthcare stuff. Like I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good example. Like some kind of clinic or whatever it is. They're putting in there like get online care. So let's say I don't know. You search for Baltimore medical care. Making this up, or and you click on a local pack result, and you see the business listing in the panel. Once you make the click, you might see in that local panel a button for get online care because you can't leave your house because of COVID-19.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Google will soon be asking all advertisers to verify their identities. The new program is set to launch summer 2020.
I like this. I mean, this is meant to sort of prevent crappy ads before they ever get to the SERP.
Right.
This is good. Good.
Yes,
I was going to say that, right? Yeah, if my last comment was, this sucks, this is good.
Amazing.
Fire bad. There's a great Saturday Night Live skit about that where Phil Hartman plays Frankenstein. They ask him, like, what do you think about fire? Fire bad. What do you think about bread? Bread good. Anyway, again, dating myself because you don't know who Phil Hartman is.
Oh my god.
Right?
Okay.
Who's Phil Hartman? Who's Phil Hartman? Shush me.
Lastly,
Google
has gone live with a feature that will offer you suggestions when the search term used doesn't bring up the right results. This way, when Google doesn't seem to have results that fit the query, you have some direction on how to search.
This is really interesting. So first off, it makes it does it make Google look bad? No. All right, I don't think it does. I think the queries that this is going to show up for are kind of like out there anyway. But also, like, look, you're being honest. Like here, like this is like a wacky query. I don't know what the hell you're searching for. Google's being transparent. I like that. I think that's a good way to go. There's a lot to talk about why Google is doing this, which I'll talk about in another deep thought on the InSearch SEO podcast Twitter page, InSearch_SEO.
I was waiting for that.
There we go.
Okay.
But it is that does correlate to one of the other features that Google's been running. Google's been running this test that you could input the question you want. Like if you do a search and like you didn't see the answer that you wanted or like whatever it is, you could input the question into a box, and Google says we'll have content people try to answer this question for you. As if Google's trying to say, well, there might not be any content for this query, so we'll send this out to whoever, I don't know who these people are, and we'll ask them to generate content. So when you search again, there'll be things there for you. So very similar sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And do you know who Phil Hartman is?
No, I don't. Leave me alone.
God. You ever watch The Simpsons? Hi, I'm Troy McClure.
I mean, I never watched an episode of this.
Oh my god! Hi, I'm Troy McClure.
I know that's unusual. I know that's weird.
Okay, as long as you know what, and knowing is half the battle.
It's just I don't really like cartoons. I don't know.
It's not a cartoon. First, I can't watch Simpsons anymore anyway. But I hear that I hear that with the cartoons. Like I don't watch Family Guy. I don't really watch South Park because again the cartoon thing kind of like doesn't really work for me anymore. But the Simpsons.
Yeah, I never watched
different.
any of those. Like,
Whatever.
It's not appealing to me.
Okay. I'll let it go.
Yeah.
That'll bring us to, you're welcome, that'll bring us to our fun SEO send-off question. So Sapir has a very special question for us this week, Sapir.
Right. So, since my sister gave birth...
How big was the baby?
Shut up.
Was it hairy? No, I'm gonna start asking it that way because people are like, oh, did the baby have any hair?
Oh my god!
Is it hairy?
I was a hairy baby.
I was not. All my kids also bald. Now I'm bald again. So it's the circle of baldness.
Oh god. Okay. So this week we're asking, because that's the only question that came up, to my mind. If Google had a child,
would it be hairy?
Google name it?
If Google had a child, would it be hairy?
No, the name.
The name. If Google had a child, what would its name be?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You go first,
so
please.
My answer.
So I can think.
Okay. I think Google would be like a megalomaniac, right? So
Yeah.
Google would just name it Google Junior.
It's going with the Junior. It's going with the Junior. How about Google the
Junior,
Third?
Yeah.
I like the Third.
The third. Wait,
Yeah.
who's the second?
I don't know, but the Third just sounds better. The Third. I'm Google the Third. I'm George Takei.
You cannot just skip a generation. It doesn't work.
If
like
it sounds cool, you do what the hell you want.
that.
Look, no, seriously, who's going to say,
No,
well,
that's
who's the
just
second?
you,
You can't be the Third. Whatever. If you can name a kid Apple, you can name a kid the Third, even though they're only the second. That's my way I think about it. Okay. What
Apple
month?
is a cute name.
Apple? That's ridiculous. You name the kid Apple?
It's cute.
That's just stupid. Come on, please. Who did that? Gwyneth Paltrow, right?
Gwyneth Paltrow, yeah.
So
and Chris
dumb.
Martin.
Please.
What? It's cute.
It's Apple. Look, I named my kid Cucumber. Hello, Carrot. Cal.
Oh,
Cal would be a good name. If you had to name your kid after a fruit or a vegetable, Cal. Cal would be the way to go. Not pleasant to eat, but a pleasant name.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, so what month was the baby born in?
I don't know.
You don't know your sisters had a baby.
Oh, my
Yeah.
nephew, you
Yeah.
mean? I said he was born last week,
Oh,
so what month do you think he was born?
I don't know. Just say humor me. Humor me.
What?
Humor me. Humor me.
Let's say April.
April. So it would be called the April 2020 baby. Because that's Google's new way of naming stuff.
Oh, algorithm.
Yep, that was good, right?
Oh, that was
And if
good.
it had, and the baby was born in May, it'd be the May 2020 baby.
Oh, that's really good.
That's good. Hey, I
That's a good name.
got a compliment out of you. Twice in one day. Twice in one day.
Oh, wow, Morty.
Mhm.
You're surprising me today.
I will give you a compliment as well then. It's not so bad that you don't know what Wrigley Field is. It's not so bad. All the things I've chastised you
but I
over.
actually don't care what you think.
There we go. We're back to normal Sapir. And with that, that'll do it for the In Search SEO podcast this week. Tune in again next week for an all-new In Search SEO podcast. It'll hit the airwaves on Tuesday. Like always, look for it on the Rank Ranger blog and wherever great podcasts are found. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be safe, be healthy, be inside. Toodles. Oh, I forgot. It's been in search because we're all in search of something. Toodle.